Massive changes are coming for the Las Vegas GP. The success of the Las Vegas Grand Prix might have put paper over the cracks, or the potholes if we can call it that, because huge changes will be coming to the most glamorous F1 event in history. With so many drivers criticizing the event even after its conclusion, it's safe to say that Vegas achieved its primary goal, which is to be the most talked about thing in town. Could these changes that drivers urge FIA to make really be for the betterment of an already decent event, or will they be ignored as FIA usually does and just keep things as they are? It's a known fact by now that when Formula One builds up an event to the extent it did with this one, arguments favouring the glitz and glamour over the overall well-being and expansion of the championship lose credibility if the on-track element, still considered by many as the core of this global phenomenon, falls short of expectations, and the Miami race serves as a prime example of this. But fortunately, Las Vegas not only lived up to the off-track hype, but also delivered on the racing front. The event featured a significant amount of on-track action without descending into chaos, incidents, or a disastrous spectacle. Surprisingly, overtaking proved to be more manageable than many drivers had predicted. Before the weekend, all the unnecessary elements surrounding this race might have been eye-catching, but to a devoted racing fan, they would have been exactly that, unnecessary. What would have genuinely concerned me was if by the end of the Grand Prix, the prevailing sentiment was that the entire event prioritized style over substance, but luckily that wasn't the case. If an event in the heart of one of the world's most renowned cities can contribute to making F1 more popular, then as long as the on-track racing remains thrilling, it constitutes a mutually beneficial outcome. The race from start to finish was of very high quality and consistently exciting throughout the field. The Verstappen-Leclerc incident at the first corner shuffled the running order and offered a glimpse of how a race with an equal grid would look. The overtaking opportunity showcased that the glamour surrounding the new Las Vegas track is justified. However, one obvious issue highlighted over the weekend was the inadequacy of the regulations and their enforcement. The situation with Carlos Sainz receiving a 10-place penalty for damage beyond his or Ferrari's control seemed absurd. Furthermore, the 5-second penalty for pushing another car off at the first corner, potentially gaining an advantage in tyre management, raised eyebrows. The sequence of events involving damage to the front wing, a pit stop without correcting the issue, and returning to the track in an illegal specification due to prescribed wing dimensions left me perplexed. Despite these concerns, Charles Leclerc's performance, earning him the fan-voted Driver of the Day award, stood out. While he would likely trade the award for a race win, his excellent drive and adept tyre management, particularly in the first stint, showcased Ferrari's prowess. Moreover, his sportsmanship during the post-race cool-down lap with Verstappen demonstrated his maturity. Although F1 is currently enjoying a peak with teams and drivers delivering fascinating performances, the governing body risks lagging behind in rule implementation. The incomprehensibility surrounding the application of penalties leaves spectators and viewers in the dark, exceeding even the controversies surrounding VAR in football. Clarity and consistency in rule enforcement are imperative here. Criticism arrived, however, from Fernando Alonso, who said he believes F1 cars are not made for Las Vegas. While some sections of the strip circuit were in the recent high-speed mold for street tracks, some of the corners around the Sphere in particular were slow speed, with drivers largely unable to make any overtaking moves through this section of track. Alonso spun at turn 1 and dropped to the rear of the field, pitting for repairs, but climbing up the order thanks to stopping early to run in the points. The Aston Martin driver did finish in 9th place, and is now level on 200 points with fellow Spanish driver Carlos Sainz heading to Abu Dhabi, but he was left feeling the fun was taken out of driving at F1's newest circuit. There is not much fun to drive on this kind of circuit at 360 km per hour with no grip, no visibility, and bouncing like hell, Alonso explained to the media. I know from the outside that the show maybe looks good, but these cars are not made to go around corners at 80 km per hour. They are made to go to Suzuka, Barcelona, and Silverstone and maximize the potential. That is where we need to balance the championship and the calendar. It is what we are doing, but I don't think that this is the only way to go. We need to keep the traditional races as well, where the Formula One car can shine. Fernando's comments are significant, but another thing that needs to change and that is urged by the drivers is the time in which the race took place. A consistent talking point during the inaugural edition of the modern Las Vegas Grand Prix centered on the late schedule, which was deemed exceptionally demanding, even by night race standards. The race itself unfolded on Saturday evening at 10 p.m., leading to media day activities on Wednesday, free practice on Thursday, and qualifying on Friday, all of which were late in the day affairs, and this was further exacerbated by the challenges of insufficient sleep and daytime fatigue experienced by many Formula One personnel, including drivers, due to the jet lag incurred from traveling to the western United States. In Formula One, complaints regarding working hours and inconvenient schedules are not uncommon, particularly in recent years with later start times becoming more prevalent. However, the situation at the Vegas event went beyond the usual grumblings, as a significant number of individuals were evidently adversely affected. The decision to postpone the second practice session from a midnight start to a 2:30 a.m. start on Friday, caused by the disruption caused by a water valve cover failure in FP1, only exacerbated the challenges, and this adjustment meant that personnel carried a sleep deficit throughout the remainder of the weekend. Even Daniel Ricciardo, who spent a lot of time in the US and has been a big advocate of the Las Vegas race, felt this had taken an extreme toll, as it's kind of felt like a bit of a whirlwind since then. I feel like I've been, or probably all of us have been, a little bit delirious and a little bit hallucinogenic, he said. Verstappen, however, did admit that at least it was enjoyable to drive, but expressed concerns about the significant time shift in the current Formula One schedule, particularly towards the end of the season when fatigue sets in. He suggested that finding an alternative date for certain races might be beneficial, proposing the idea of incorporating more races into an American tour, and emphasizing the need to address the challenges posed by 12-hour time zone shifts and the varying racing timings. Next year, Las Vegas kicks off a much-hated planned triple-header at the end of a 24-race calendar, and from Vegas, F1 will travel to Qatar, then shuffle across to Abu Dhabi for the finale. Now, if we're being honest, changing the date is unlikely to happen, although in the future Sergio Perez suggested it should be the season finale, and even adjusting the start time might be difficult, as part of the justification is to capture the European TV audiences in the early morning, while leaning into a boxing-style prize fight time slot in Vegas. But if nothing changes at all, the 2024 Las Vegas GP will be even more difficult and unpopular to work at than this proved to be, which would be a shame given the spectacle around the event and the quality of the race, which were both widely praised. On the Friday before the race, drivers anticipated a Grand Prix filled with tyre management and high degradation, which made them concerned about the potential difficulty of the race. However, Formula One demonstrated its capacity for surprises, even in a season marked by team dominance, and I have to say, contrary to the initial expectations, the level of the degradation remained far below what teams had feared, enabling drivers to engage in close and competitive racing throughout the entire Grand Prix. Ultimately, with notable performances from drivers like Leclerc and Oscar Piastri, the race culminated in one of the most entertaining F1 events in recent memory, and despite the initial embarrassment and warranted criticism faced by Las Vegas after Thursday's FP1, the city had the last laugh at the end of the race. Now there is collective wonderment about why there were ever concerns about hosting a Grand Prix in Las Vegas in the first place. But changes are indeed needed. However, now the organizers in Nevada have a good place to start and improve the event much more. Hopefully next season we won't see any pothole incidents, and the race in downtown Las Vegas, why not even decide the championship? It's imperative for F1 and FIA to work with the drivers and take their criticism into consideration. Of course, the constructive one, because at the end of the day, they are the ones doing all the hard work, and we are only watching from the side. Thank you for watching Racing Zone. Let us know your thoughts down below. What did you think of the Las Vegas Grand Prix? And should changes happen? We'll see you in the next video.